You already know your dog loves you, but here's the real question. Do they see you as just the person who feeds them, or as something much bigger, their source of safety, their comfort, their emotional home? Because if your dog sees you like a parent, the proof isn't in one dramatic moment. It's hidden in tiny behaviors they do every single day, behaviors most people completely overlook. And one of the signs near the end is so quiet, so subtle, that most owners miss it for years. If your dog does even a few of these, you are not just their owner, you are their person. And number 6 might be the strongest sign of all. 1. They walk into your room for no reason. Have you ever been sitting on the couch, working at your desk, or just doing absolutely nothing special, and your dog suddenly walks in, looks at you, then lies down nearby? No toy, no barking, no need to go outside. They don't ask for food. They don't demand attention. They just appear, check on you, and settle. Most people barely notice this. But this tiny behavior is one of the strongest signs of emotional attachment your dog can show. In behavior terms, this is often called proximity monitoring. Your dog is not bored. They're not being clingy. They're doing something deeply instinctive. They're making sure their safe person is still there. That's why this behavior feels so powerful once you understand it. They didn't come in because they needed something. They came in because they needed you to be there. And the part most people miss is when they were already comfortable somewhere else. Your dog could be asleep in another room. They could be perfectly warm, perfectly relaxed, totally settled. And then they get up, walk all the way over to where you are, and lie back down again. Think about that. They gave up comfort just to be close to your presence. That is not convenience. That is choice. And dogs only make that choice over and over, with the person who makes them feel safest in the world. But if you think that's subtle, the next sign is even easier to miss, because it happens in their face, and it lasts maybe a second. 2. Your dog raises their eyebrows when they see you. This one is tiny, but once you notice it, it's impossible to ignore. When your dog sees you, does their face seem to soften? Do their eyebrows lift just a little, especially above the eyes, giving them that almost baby-like expression? That is not random. Studies have shown that dogs use facial expressions more when humans are paying attention. In other words, your dog doesn't just react with their body. They communicate with their face too. And that eyebrow raise matters more than people think. Because dogs don't make the same face for everyone, there's a huge difference between the face they make when they're alert, uncertain, or guarded, and the face they make when they feel completely safe. Soft eyes, relaxed mouth, gentle brow movement. That look that seems to say, "Oh, it's you." That is emotional openness. Your dog is not bracing, not calculating, not preparing. They're connecting. And what makes this so powerful is how fast it happens. It's instinctive. You walk in, they notice you, and their expression changes before they even move. That split-second softness can say more than barking, jumping, or tail wagging ever could. Because when your dog sees you and their whole face relaxes, that's not just recognition, that's relief. And if their face changes when they see you, wait until we get to what happens when you disappear and then come back. Because that sign is impossible to miss. 3. They go crazy the second you walk in. You were gone for 20 minutes, maybe an hour. Maybe you just took out the trash and came back. But the way your dog reacts, you'd think you returned from war. Tail flying, body wiggling, jumping, whining, spinning, eyes locked on you like nothing else in the room exists. It's cute, it's funny, but it's also much deeper than excitement. Because when your dog sees you walk back through that door, they're not just happy, they're relieved. Studies have shown that when dogs and their owners interact, especially through eye contact and affection, oxytocin increases in both. That's the same bonding hormone connected to caregiver and infant attachment. So when your dog explodes with joy the moment you come home, that reaction is not just energy, it's attachment. You came back, and to your dog, that matters more than most people realize. Some research has even found that dogs greet their owners more intensely after longer separations compared to shorter ones. In other words, they don't just like when you're around, they feel the difference when you're gone. That's why these reunions feel so intense. Your dog isn't just saying, "Yay, you're here." They may be saying, "Everything feels right again." And here's the part that makes this sign so powerful. Dogs don't react this way for just anyone. Not every familiar face gets this kind of reunion. Not every person gets this level of emotional release. This is usually reserved for the one who matters most. But as strong as that sign is, the next one is even more personal. because now your dog isn't just reacting to your return, they're handing you something they care about. 4. They bring you their favourite toy, but don't let go right away. This one is huge. Your dog walks up to you carrying their favourite toy. Maybe it's the ball they're obsessed with. Maybe it's the gross, half-destroyed plush they refuse to part with. They bring it right to you. But then something interesting happens. They don't let go immediately. They hold it there for a second. Maybe longer. They look at you. They wait. Most people think this only means one thing: throw it. But not always. Because when your dog brings you something valuable and hesitates before letting go, that moment can mean much more than play. It can be trust mixed with emotional connection. Dogs can be extremely attached to prized objects, so when they carry one over to you, they're not just moving an item from one place to another. They're bringing something important into your space. And when they pause before releasing it, it almost feels like a social offering, like they're saying, "This matters to me, and I want to share it with you." That hesitation is what makes the moment special. It's not just fetch. It's not just excitement. It's your dog bringing something they value into your relationship with them. And if you immediately miss the moment and just throw it every time, you may be skipping over the emotional part of what they're actually doing. Sometimes the better move is to pause, touch the toy, praise them, let them feel seen for a second, because to your dog this may not just be a game, it may be a ritual of trust. The next sign is one of the most emotional on this list, because it doesn't happen when your dog wants something. It happens when you're the one who's not okay. 5. They change when you're hurting. This is where things get deep. Have you ever had a bad day and your dog seemed to know before you even said a word? Maybe you sit down harder than usual. Maybe your breathing changes. Maybe your voice sounds flatter. Maybe you're quiet. Maybe you're crying. And suddenly your dog is different too. They stop what they were doing. They come closer. They lick your hand. They lean against you. They rest their head on your leg. Or they just sit there beside you in complete silence, like they know this is not a moment for chaos. That is not random. Dogs are incredibly sensitive to human emotion. They notice body language, tone, movement, tension, and even stress. Related scent changes. So when you're hurting, many dogs don't just detect it, they respond to it. And that response is one of the clearest signs that your emotional state matters deeply to them. Think about how powerful that is. Your dog isn't only attached to what you do for them, they are attached to you, to your mood, to your normal rhythm. And when that rhythm changes, they feel it. That's why some dogs become softer when you're sad, quieter when you're stressed, closer when you're overwhelmed. In that moment, they're not asking for anything. They're trying to be near you because something in them says, "My person is off. I need to be here." And honestly, that might be one of the most beautiful parts of the bond. At first, dogs depend on us for comfort, but over time, the bond gets so deep that they start trying to comfort us back. And if you thought that was powerful, the final sign is even stronger, because it happens when your dog is at their most vulnerable and not trying to impress you at all. 6. They fall asleep facing you. Tonight, I want you to watch this. Not where your dog sleeps. How they position themselves when they fully relax. This is the sign almost nobody pays attention to. But once you notice it, it changes everything. When your dog falls asleep, they are vulnerable, their guard drops. Their body releases tension, their awareness lowers. In that state, where they choose to orient themselves matters. Some dogs face the door. Some face the room. Some curl into a wall or furniture. But if your dog consistently falls asleep facing you, angled toward you, or with their body subtly pointed in your direction, that means something. Because even in rest, even in vulnerability, even when they need nothing from you, their body still chooses you as its point of safety. That is huge. And what makes this sign so powerful is how silent it is. Greeting you at the door is loud. Bringing you a toy is active. Following you into a room is obvious. But this happens when your dog is half asleep, fully relaxed and not performing anything. No reward, no command, no attention seeking. Just instinct. And if their sleeping body still turns toward you, that tells you where safety lives in their mind. With you, that may be the clearest answer of all. So if your dog checks on you for no reason, softens their face when they see you, loses their mind when you come home, brings you prized things, changes when you're hurting, and falls asleep facing you, then know, you are probably not just their owner, you are their secure place, their emotional anchor, their version of home. And maybe that's the real reason these little signs hit people so hard, because they prove that love for a dog is not just excitement. It's trust, it's regulation, it's comfort. It's that deep, instinctive feeling of, when you're here, I'm okay. So tonight, pay attention to the small things. The room checks, the softened eyes, the reunion at the door, the toy they won't quite let go of, the way they come closer when you're hurting, and most of all, the way they sleep. Because the deepest bonds are rarely the loudest. Sometimes they show up in the quietest choices of all.